Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the impact of humans in the world. Today, we will be talking about the impact of agronomy in the land and in our community. And for that, we have a special guest.
Hello everyone, my name is Isadora. I'm a student of Earth University at Costa Rica and I'm going to be the guest of the show today. I'm going to be answer some questions about the impact of the agronomy in the world.
Agriculture is a nation activity that aims mostly in producing food. We all know that food is one of our human basic needs, which means that we depend on agriculture to exist. Agriculture has changed during the years and the methods have been intensifying. Within the amount of humans existing in the world, we need to produce more food, which means more land will need to be dedicated to the use in agriculture. So now I will be calling Isadora to come and answer a few questions. Isadora.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good and you?
Good. So we know that in the need of intensifying agriculture, human came up with ideas like mechanizing agriculture. So could you talk about the impact that mechanizing agriculture has on the soil and in the world in general?
Yeah, well, the mechanization of agriculture brought agility to production. So we need less time and people working at the field. But however, in order to set this agriculture machines and everything, it's necessary to burn fossil fuels,
Yes.
which improves the contribution to emissions of gases of greenhouse gases and the pollution gases in atmosphere.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy because humans don't ever think about the impact that agriculture has in our world, but yet still we always consume food and we never stop to think where it actually comes from.
Yeah, and over there, also we need to think about the impact of the soil, the water, and the natural resources that we need to do to agriculture. So it's like one thing balances to another.
Yes, that's right.
So to start this thing in this conversation, we need to get some things clear. The first of them, it's like, what is the Green Revolution? And to everyone understand a little bit better of what we're going to talk about, we're going to do a little introduction to talk after about the impacts of it. Well, agricultural methods have intensified continuously ever since the Industrial Revolution, and even more so since after the Green Revolution that happened about the 20th century. At each stage, innovation in farm techniques brought about huge increases in crop fields by arable areas of land. This tremendous rise in food production has sustained a global population that has quadrupled over the span of 1 century. As the human population continues to grow, so too has the amount of space dedicated to feeding it. According to World Bank figures, in 2016, more than 700 million hectares were devoted to growing corn, rice, and other staple cereal grains, nearly half of the agricultural land on the planet.
Green revolution is what we call the time and space where there was a huge increase in the agricultural production. This came with decrease in poverty, in hunger, and in people with no jobs. But it also came with the use of pesticides and chemicals that have a huge impact in the land, which back then people didn't know or didn't understand.
The pollution of the soil, the decrease in biodiversity, the erosion caused by irrigation, and the depletion of freshwater sources are some of the impacts caused by the intensified agriculture in these last years. Another ones are in the world and happen all the time, but we're going to talk about this a little more so you can understand. The pollution of the soils and the water due to the use of agricultural inputs such as chemical fertilizers, soil correctors, pesticides, and another many of other chemicals that we apply to the soil. When the crop receives rain or it's irrigated, These inputs can flow into the rivers and contaminating the soils and the water table. Besides that, we have the decrease in biodiversity. Like due to the pesticides and they are often sprayed in the plants or the neighbor areas, it kills the animals and the plants or contaminates and the animals or the plants that it's around contributing to deforestation to decline the biodiversity.
I always think that it's very important to talk about where chemicals or where pesticides actually came from. So the first pesticides and the first chemicals that were ever used in agriculture came from leftovers of bombs during the Civil War, which means that a bomb exploded, it killed animals, it killed the land, it killed everything that was growing around it. And then someone had the big, brilliant idea of using that in agriculture and using that in what we eat right now. Which obviously means that even the pesticides that now during the years have been modified still use different components that were part of those bombs that back then were used to kill people are now actually being used in our food. Which obviously translates into further like health problems in humans, but also the killing, as Isadora was saying, the killing of the biodiversity or the decrease in biodiversity, as well as the pollution and contamination of the water, the land, and the earth in general, because I like to speak of the earth and of the land as a human or as a being that is alive, that is always growing and being modified. So I believe that using or applying pesticides that are supposed to kill people obviously in some way kill and contribute to killing the land and whatever lives in it. Beside the environmental impacts that we spoke about before, the intensifying of agriculture also brings huge impacts in economy and the community in general. Maybe Isadora, can you talk about or tell us about some of these impacts in the community and in the economy of the people?
Well, so we can talk about it. We need to understand like it's one of the bases of the capitalism. Like all of the money and the more part of the money, it's concentrated in a few hands. It's not in everyone. So what happens in the intensified agriculture is that the mechanization, the technologies, and all the resources that the people need and use to improve the agriculture, it's used more in the farmers that have many lands, that do exportation with their products.
Yeah, the big producers.
Yeah, and these people only get richer.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who sustain the agriculture in all the countries, who feed actually the people in the country that are the family agriculture, they are left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Like they cannot go with all the technologies. They cannot buy the new fertilizer or the new app that's used in this thing, but
right.
They are left behind, so they cannot do the agriculture in the way that's required.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people give up of this side of economy, and we're like the people that works with it, it's less than before.
Yeah, because as Isadora was saying, the big producers usually just get richer and the small producers get poorer because they don't have access to the resources, right, that are used in the nowadays agriculture or the new agriculture. Something very important to talk about as well is the fact that the producing communities are always the poorest communities, which means they produce the food, they feed the people, but this food is taken to exportation, or it's taken to big factories to get put together in boxes, and then it comes back to their stores in huge prices. That is not what they're getting paid for producing, which means they don't have enough money to access or to buy the food that they're producing, which I believe is very just inhuman that we are doing this to the producers.
Yeah, because the people that are rich, it's like we're saying, it's
Mhm.
only getting rich, and the people who works with it all the life, they cannot keep it,
Yeah.
keep themselves in this thing.
Exactly, because small producers actually believe in producing real, healthy, good food for humans, which is very different to big industries who usually just care about money and not really of what they're feeding us or what they're giving us in food.
And all the countries, basically, the familiar agriculture is what sustains it.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's like we're getting blind to this side, and we're trying not to see what impact this have, but it's clearly it's impacting these people.
Yeah, of course, because when Green Revolution came, there was a huge increase in production. So we all thought it was great. We all thought it was really good for producing food, and no one really stopped to think what the impact would have, not only in the environment, but as well in the small producers who do not have the opportunity to access this. So yeah, it's very important to stop and actually think what this is causing in the environment, but as well to us as human beings consuming the food and to the producers who do not have access to this kind of agriculture. So thank you everyone for sitting down and listening to a bit of what we had to say regarding this subject. If you want to hear more about it, please let us know. We're always happy to sit down and chat. And
yeah, thank you for receiving me and for all the questions. And it's a fact that agriculture needs to be growing because the number of people in the world keeps growing. But it's a fact too that we need to use the technologies and all the sources that we have to do a more responsible agriculture, like protecting the people, the environment, and the economic.
yeah, always remember to stop and think where your food comes from and to support the producers that are actually bringing the food to the table.
Thank you
Thank
for
you all.
watching. Bye.